Fake Intel CPUs. I recently purchased a processor off eBay that was labeled as an Intel Core i5 2520 meters. It came shipped in just a tray, not the original box, but the processor and all its markings look perfectly legitimate. My system BIOS reports it as a genuine Intel CPU 0 at 2.50 GHz, and shows the CPU ID as 206A5, which, when I stick it into Google, turns up the Intel Core i7 2720QM instead. The CPU seems to work fine for the most part and runs Windows 8 64-bit without issues, although it is giving me some trouble with AMT, but I'm not sure whether this is a CPU or a motherboard issue. So, this leaves me with a couple of questions. Is it possible to update the microcode of a CPU to pass it off as a different one? Is it normal that a genuine CPU gets reported as CPU 0 in the BIOS rather than its actual ID? Could this chip be an engineering sample? Is there a software tool that will check whether a processor is genuine? I ran CPU-Z and it reports the following. Should it look like this for a 2520 meters CPU?
It's an engineering sample, emphasis added. Specification genuine Intel R CPU 0 at 2.5 GHz, S. For more information, see this Intel page. Information about Intel engineering/qualification sample processors.
Well, you got shipped a newer processor than what you ordered, with a marginally lower clock speed and a few features disabled. Unless it was a hell of a deal, you might want to yell at the eBay vendor. To sum up all the things in the comments and a few extra details, various levels of fake processors exist from repacked engineering sample chips, to the lovely, and utterly non-functional Core i7 920 Newegg accidentally shipped a few years ago. You'd notice these are repacked chips, or complete bricks, rather than cunningly modified, or homebrewed processors. In this case though, you got a newer Core i5 2450 rather than an older, slightly faster 2520 which has a few additional features. While some Intel processors can be soft-modded to unlock additional cache and features, I couldn't find any reference to radical soft modding. While you didn't get what you paid for, the chip you have is probably as it was designed and manufactured by Intel. I'd suggest taking a closer look at those chip markings, since they would confirm it. It would be possible, and a little crafty to swap those heat shields, but it's unlikely since it's too much work. The product identification utility by Intel might be of interest here as well.
As noted by Dragonlord, the CPU I purchased on eBay is an engineering sample. I have meanwhile received a replacement processor that is actually a genuine Core Intel i5 2520 meters. Here are the differences. This one, the system BIOS identifies correctly as an with CPU ID 206A7. So, the CPU 0, part of genuine Intel R CPU 0, was actually not an indication that this is the first CPU in the system, as suspected in some answers/comments here, but really part of the CPU ID given by Intel for this particular and maybe all, engineering sample CPU. CPU Z now reports differences marked. I didn't mark the core voltage as different since it keeps fluctuating a bit anyways. What do you know? AMT now works perfectly. I will leave Dragonlord's answer as the accepted one, since he figured out correctly what was going on.
Creating a knockoff x86 compliant CPU isn't the same as a fake memory card. Worst case, someone tried to pass off an older model, but Intel changes the socket design every couple generations. Not to mention these CUs also contain a clue. Yes, it's possible to update the microcode. Intel offers paid upgrades for some of their CUs. CPU 0 simply refers to the first CPU if you have a multi-CPU or multi-core system. Doubtful it's a sample. Run a benchmark and compare the output with online results for that CPU model. Intel AMT requires a compliant BIOS.
Please subscribe.